Are you an entrepreneur or ready to become a boss? Welcome to Hawaii Boss, the business podcast made in Hawaii, where you will hear from island movers and shakers on who they are and their impact on our state. And now, step into the office of your host for Hawaii Boss, David Pettijohn.
Aloha, Hawaii Boss podcast crew listening in out there, wherever you listen in or watch in, because we're on YouTube and all those other places where you can find podcasts. But we like to let you know that we've got a very special guest, or we're going into the very special guest office, the boss's office. I don't know if you've ever heard of a mall boss, but I think we're there today. Stephanie England is the VP and General Manager of Makana Ali'i, and which is a community center, is a mall. It's sort of it's a gathering place. Tell us what your vision of Makana Ali'i is.
Absolutely, David. So thank you so much for the opportunity. I am so thrilled to be here with you today and to share a little bit about what I do and what this incredible shopping center means to me.
Right.
First, to answer your question, the center is truly a community hub. And when we first opened the shopping center, we didn't know exactly what the center was going to become or what the community needed. One thing, the community was so new at the time, but then also, and growing as it continues to grow, things change too.
2016 was a start. You got kicked off in
correct,
2016.
October 2016. And so as we opened the center, it was trying to figure out our place and who are we? Where do we belong in this community? And it's been through collaboration and working with our community, many partnerships that we've been able to develop over the years, that I think that the center has truly become that gathering place, that place that means home to this community.
Well, West Side is kind of unique in its own, in and of itself, but then trying to find a place there. But you also, of course, welcome everyone from Oahu and throughout the islands to come over as a shopping experience. So, hey, they don't want to go to Ala Moana. They don't want to.
It's so funny you say that, because I was actually just chatting with some folks and they were talking about how they're avoiding, Waikiki and they're coming here, for example, like to our Olive Garden, because they can get in and out and dine here at Makana Ali'i at Olive Garden faster than they can at Ala Moana or Cheesecake Factory. That's another one that is in Waikiki. And they say, oh, forget the parking, forget the issue with all that in Waikiki. Let's just go to Makana Ali'i. And the drive isn't that bad. It's actually not that far. So it's amazing to hear that. And I would say in 2016, that was definitely not our experience. But through the years, we are starting to garner that traffic coming from as far as Hawaii Kai and Kailua and in town, which is amazing. And I attribute some of that to the entertainment elements that we've been able to bring into the shopping center. And then also our food. I think our food is just something that's so eclectic and unique. And we kind of say we're sort of a mecca of incredible food options. And we have a lot to offer in that area.
Well, how do you, there's a lot of questions about food, because everybody, they want a nice, easy place to go and eat and, place to sit, and not have to wait an hour and all that. And so that's good. So but not everybody gets to get in those spaces. There's cost and there's thing. How do businesses who are thinking, maybe, I'm running a food truck right now, and I think maybe I can upscale, and I think maybe there's something else I can do, but I need this other venue. How do you, as you come and invite those folks, how do you say, what can you offer to these folks that are trying to say, I want to grow my business?
Absolutely. So I think one thing that JLL, our management arm that oversees all the management of the shopping center, that's who I work for, is JLL. Our ownership hires us as a third-party manager to assist. We have an incredible program called our specialty leasing program. And that program is designed specifically to take those budding entrepreneurs, those brand new concepts. We put them into what we would call an RMU, which is a retail merchandising unit for like our soft goods and some of those jewelry, clothing, that type of thing. And let's test the market. Let's see, how does the community respond to you? How does the customer like your product?
So RMU is sort of like it's a test bed, but you're partnering with these folks and say, hey, we want something great for us that brings more foot traffic to the center and the community. But we want you to be successful too.
Right. And things like where we're putting in, in our parking fields, we have areas where we can allow food trucks to come in and again, test that market.
Right.
And as that business then grows and we're monitoring their sales, we're looking at their overall health. And then we can say, you know what, I think you've grown your business to the point that we can maybe step you up into one of our inline spaces.
Right.
And, kind of see how they do. And it's partnership. It's a lot of training. It's a lot of hand-holding. It's a lot of working together with those tenants to help them understand, that process and what it means to be a part of a shopping center. Because that's a concept that is a bit challenging for folks.
Right. You can't just go in, if you own your own business, you own a little shop over here, you can open up when you want to, put up a shingle, but here you got to you have to present during the hours so that you can be a part of what the draw is for the whole community.
Correct. And everybody feeds off of everybody else too. So, we need those tenants to be open during shopping center hours. So that means their sales have to be such that they have to support that, 10 to 9 Monday through Saturday and 10 to 6 on Sundays, for example. And that's a big ask, right? From a staffing standpoint, that's a lot of payroll.
Yeah, you got to be all in, or if you can't find that staff, the owner's got to be there.
Exactly. And it can be challenging, but I'm proud that over 54% of our tenants in our shopping center are locally owned and operated businesses.
That's great.
Many of which are actually ones that started with us in 2016 and have grown with us. And they're doing so well. And I'm just so proud of our program, that specialty leasing program I was mentioning. And Loretta Tanner is who oversees and kind of, Loretta Tanner oversees that market, that program. And she's our contact to if you have any questions about that or would like to talk to her, her information's on our website.
Sort of brings in these folks but I think a lot of these folks who are trying to get in development phase are having a hard time with staffing. And you say it's sort of a partnership, you want to usher them in, how do you help them as a partner, but also your needs as a facility for staffing? I don't know if it's a pandemic or there's so many jobs out there. What are you guys doing? What's your approach to deal with it? I think if you had the key, I think you'd be I don't know if you'd be even working there,
Well, yeah, it's, no, I think it's a fine balance. It truly is. And it comes back to that word you said, partnership. Mm-hmm. And we have to partner with our tenants and with ownership, and to help ownership understand the climate and what our tenants are experiencing, what they're going through. And then our marketing team has done a fabulous job of creating a portal on our website that has all of the businesses that are currently hiring and links to how you can go, to get onto that webpage and apply for that job. Right. We've done a couple job fairs. We're partnering with other entities within our community to host job fairs. And then, when it comes back to that hour and they don't have the staff. And so when that tenant comes in and sits in front of me at my desk and says, hey, Stephanie, I can't do it. Here's my situation. So I say, okay, I get it. I'm not here to make your life difficult. Neither does ownership. What we need to do, though, is work towards the plan. We need to take it a step at a time, and let's figure out, what can you do? What do you think is viable or possible, given your current situation and where you think you might be? And make them really think, because that's one thing that tenants haven't always done. They don't sit down and look at it and go, okay, if I had 2 more employees, I just need 2 more employees, then I could get that second shift that I need. And so getting them to take that step and to really look at their business plan, look at their model, and figure out how do they get there.
So you're almost entrepreneur, like developers. You help them sort of scale up.
We try. We definitely do. And that's another thing too, with some of our smaller soft goods folks, getting them to the place where they can scale their product, because the demand here at the shopping center is high, especially once the Coconut Wireless starts talking and everybody's excited about that new thing that they found at Noyao. And yet, oh gosh, she only has 15 of them, because I'm making up numbers here.
Right.
But and because that particular vendor that she sources that product from hasn't been able to figure out how to scale. And so,
so it's a whole chain that you have to help them deal with.
It absolutely is. And we talk through it. We try to come up with solutions, brainstorm. And it's through that process that we're able to help that tenant succeed and continue to grow their business, which is a win-win for everybody.
Sure. Well, I know there must be some exciting sort of new folks. I mean, if you've got all this programming, there must be some new exciting openings and different things that are happening over there. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So we just opened Kickin' Cajun, who's been with us since we opened the shopping center, but in a smaller location. Sure. So they went from their just over 3,000 square foot to almost just over 7,000 square foot space. And it is beautiful. If you have not seen it yet, you have to come check it out. The build out it's just gorgeous. And their bar is amazing. It's a unique experience because it's a soju bar. And so their cocktails are a bit different. Some of the elements that they infuse into the drinks are different. It's an experience all in itself. So if you haven't been, you got to check it out.
So drink and eat. Eat,
absolutely.
drink, eat. Okay.
Eat, drink, and be merry.
That's right. Hey, it's Friday. Get out there today.
Pauhana, come on.
That's right.
And then Tea Presso is opening in the Grove. So it's kind of our lifestyle component of the shopping center where we have 24-hour fitness, Straub, PetSmart, Foodland Farms.
Oh, okay.
They're opening in a little, they call it a jewel box, but it's a super cute space. That it's also another beautiful build out. She did a fabulous job, Chia and her husband, on building that space out. So they opened yesterday, the 16th, and then part day yesterday, and then they're fully open today, kind of a soft open.
People are crazy about that tea and boba and all that stuff, you know.
I know it works. They love it.
And that brings people out too. Oh, hey, I'll go down to the mall and get the tea presso, and then hey, I can go check it out and go grab something else. And
absolutely. Awesome. Jen Korean Barbecue is actually in the midst of construction, so we're excited to have them opening in the near future.
That place stays busy like crazy over at Moana.
Definitely. And we do have a very active leasing program right now on our permanent side. I can't share yet, but there's a lot of really cool things percolating, and I'm hoping soon we'll be able to actually talk about that.
Awesome. Well, I mean, and so you can go to your webpage and you can find basically anything new that's coming up. I saw on there too, you guys did some sort of a football league or something like that. What is going on? The mall's doing a football league?
So the football camp, you mentioned that, David. Let me share what we did with that. So this has been kind of a fun annual project that we've partnered with Jerry Rice. And we bring him out, and he does this free football camp for our kids in our community, helps them understand what it means to be an athlete, where he came from, how he worked through the challenges that he experienced. He loves to talk to the parents about how they can best support their athlete, and that athlete needs support, not just, from their coaches, but from their entire Ohana. And that Ohana is wide reaching. And so we love doing this camp. It's a fun experience. Everybody loves Jerry. He's awesome.
For sure. The Jerry Rice. Come on.
The Jerry Rice. Yeah. So we did a bunch of different things last week on, let me see. We did a couple of events surrounding that concept, a text to win program throughout the center, and a draft day where we brought the kids here to pick up their packets and do different things. And so this is one of those things where I love to attribute to our marketing team who really designs these things with a couple things in mind. And it's not just about let's have a great event and entertain the community and have a good time. Certainly that's part of it. The biggest piece to the events that we put together is driving traffic and sales. If I put this event on in Center Court, how am I going to get those people out of Center Court and into my retailers and dining,
instead of just booking right back to their car and heading out, right?
Exactly. And so we do different things to drive that behavior, and our marketing team is fabulous at achieving that objective. And we continually hear from our tenants that those marketing events certainly drive those numbers. And that's partly what it's about, right? It's getting people here, letting them have a good time, spend their day with us, and pick up a couple things that they need along the way while they're here.
Right. So there's this technical aspect of retail that you're starting to delve into here a little bit, that it's not just, hey, we're here, we build them all, they come, they eat, and there's this thing that drives, there's metrics that I'm sure you've got reports to do, and you're, the numbers are down this month, and sweating and all that kind of stuff that people do. But looking back, what got you into this retail piece? How did you say, hey, this is a place for me? Because it's high people orientation, of course, but there's this other technical sort of smarts piece. What led you to say, hey, I think I can be pretty good at this? Someone tell you that, or you just kind of figured it out yourself?
Well, funny you mentioned that. When I actually first started in shopping centers in general, I was actually in construction management. So I oversaw tenant renovations. I did capital improvement projects. I helped with that whole budget process to create those elements of, what were we going to do for our CIP that year, and how were we going to find the money to do it, and looking at all those metrics. And then I ended up getting a job offer with MMI Realty to manage Kamehameha Shopping Center as the general manager. And at that time, I felt very comfortable with all of the pieces of, the construction part, the operations part, the day-to-day management, all of that, because I was so
keeping the
involved
bathrooms clean.
Yeah.
Keeping the lights on.
That was all part of who I partnered so closely with. But the area where I felt a bit insecure at that time was the leasing component and that marketing piece. And, how I wasn't, although I interfaced with those elements, I wasn't in control or I didn't oversee them. And I would say my mentor, John Mendelson, sat me down and he just told me, and he's not always the easiest man to talk to and work with.
Hey, sometimes bosses, you can't pick your boss sometimes.
It meant so much to me because he sat down and he told me, he said, Stephanie, I know you can do this. He said, you are smart, you are capable. And he said, and you're people oriented. You love people and you love these tenants. I see you, how passionate you are about their work in a construction world. You're going to be just as passionate about them in that leasing realm as well. And so I had to learn some of those metrics and, various percentages and how we, establish a lease rate and blah, 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 all. And
they come in each month and they tell you, based on all of our knowledge, this is where it is now. This is where you should be based on all of this historical sort of leasing percentages or whatever.
And looking at that sales analysis versus, what the tenant sales is versus what their operational expenses are.
Right.
And is the tenant healthy? Doing those studies, looking at those things, and then figuring out why, if they're not healthy, why aren't they healthy? And then that dives into that marketing element. Is it just we need more traffic in their space? Can they look at their back of house costs and maybe there's something they can cut, things that they can reduce? All those different elements and figuring out where's that sweet spot? What is the right structure for that individual tenant, especially if ownership wants that tenant and or the community wants that tenant. We need to find a way to make those metrics work.
Yeah. So working with these entrepreneurs, sometimes, again, they have a great product. Again, all those other details of the technical piece of it, like you said, so you become like this mentor and trainer. And maybe you've had to sit down and have some of those hard conversations like that gentleman had with you. And how do you prepare for that? How do you, you can't soft code it, sometimes you have to just be direct. And what's your best of, how do you approach that?
What I found in my experience is be genuine, be honest, and be real. I think when you can put the information out there and help the tenant understand this is where there's a gap. And sometimes you have to ask that question, are you ready to fix it? Because if you're not ready to fix it, then we need to find a different path. And I have yet to have someone not be willing to work with us and to fix it. And honestly, I believe you have to come from that place of being genuine, honest, and you have to care about them. And they have to know that you care about them. And
so
real.
They don't duck below the counter when Stephanie comes in. Oh, she wants to see our books.
No, I have an open door policy with all of my tenants and my staff. And my door is rarely ever closed. For that reason, because I want to be available. I want to be present. I want to ensure that my tenants and my team know that I'm here for them, no matter what the situation is.
Awesome. We as Hawaii Boss too, we also kind of reach out to those people who are trying to figure out what they want to do for work. And so is there space and room for folks like you for this kind of work in retail? Maybe they're not their own business, but they kind of they get this whole, they want to be a part of a larger organization. What's their best avenue of approach and what kind of skills do they need to develop?
Sure. That's an interesting question because I immediately go to JLL, the management company that I work for. They are amazing. This company is huge and they're always looking for.
Are they international?
Yes, they are. And the other thing too, that, because in a shopping center, I kind of relate it to like a small city.
Right.
We have an accounting team. We have an operations team. I have my security team, my housekeeping team, my marketing team, the admin team. And so we all collaborate, work together, and help solve problems. And so, creativity, a willingness to be a self-starter, I think that is huge in what we do, that being self-driven. And
you can't wait around for someone to tell you what to do.
Not at all. You see an issue and you step up to the plate and say, hey, I think here's a problem and we need to figure out how to solve it.
Right.
And that's huge. And I love that. And that's I think my management style tends to be in that way where I don't like to tell people how to do things, because I feel like we all approach things differently and our skills are such that we need to be respectful of that. And what one person's strength is another person's weakness, but that doesn't mean that when we collaborate, those two things come together and it's a dynamic team that solves difficult problems. And again, it's that collaboration, and together we'll come up with the best solution when we all sit down and listen to each other and listen to each other's strengths and then support those weaknesses in each other.
Well, tell me how that, that collaboration and that sort of like problem solving helped you through this pandemic, because you can't, this kind of space, you can't just phone it in. Hey, I'll just do remote from now on. This is people, you got to have feet on the ground, people grabbing stuff and purchasing it, taking it with them. Yes. So how did you sort of adjust?
Yeah, so I think with COVID, the first word that comes to mind is nimble. And I think our entire team just had to be nimble, whether that was the governor changing the requirements or the mayor changing their requirements or the two not coming together at the same time. And so different messages were being sent. And, I have over 150 tenants that I'm trying to relay this message to. So I think being nimble and being able to quickly adjust and modify. The other thing that I think our team, when we did come together and we talked about, what do we do? What do we think what's our next best step? Because it certainly wasn't to bury our heads in the sand and pretend like we're just going to roll through this. We decided that we wanted to find a way to better ourselves. We wanted to take this opportunity to stop for a minute. Let's look back. Let's take a minute. Let's look at from our opening all the way to today. And let's see where maybe did we make some missteps? Where could we be better? What does our community tell us they need? And then figuring out how we implemented some of those things through COVID. And I mean, I think we tried our best to, at that point, one of the common threads of every conversation was community first. And so we really took everything, all of our, and not just the outside community, our shoppers, but our community. Makana Elite East community, our tenants, our staff, all of that, taking stock of all of those needs and looking at leases, looking at structures, trying to figure out where could we better a situation for a tenant? What could we do on our marketing strategies to create a better program when we came out of COVID, and retooling our marketing completely because, prior to COVID, we were very active in the community with events and performances and having, being that place where the community could come and perform in center court. Those things had to stop. So we had to figure out another way that we could be that community hub and be that place where people felt comfortable coming, especially through COVID. And I think our marketing team did a great job of emphasizing our outdoor center, the fact that our tenants cared about them and that we cared about them and we were going to do things the right way. We put in social distancing dots. We put messaging throughout all of our collateral that helped people, think about staying safe, masking up. And we implemented curbside pickup and various things to help our tenants succeed with those situations where people were afraid to come into the center, but they still wanted to, grab L&L or they wanted Koa Pancake House for breakfast. And so we were able to create that out so they could drive up and get the things that they needed. And I think all of that was we just looked at the situation, we listened to those around us, and we solved the problems together.
Yeah. And I think people still need stuff. I mean, they didn't stop needing stuff throughout this time. And so
Not at all.
they just everyone had to sort of reinvent, this process of like, okay, the process is new, but it doesn't mean it has to stop us.
Correct. And I think some people during that time, they needed more things than what they had in the past too. So we saw sales as we were coming out of COVID that were skyrocketing in other arenas through COVID where sales were going up. For example, Foodland Farms. Obviously people were grocery shopping and eating at home a lot more. So we saw some of those changes there. And I give so much credit to our tenants who were able to make that shift to online, however they did it, whether that was through a partnership with Uber Eats or, various other programs and apps out there. Some created their own apps to be able to offer that, but those that were able to retool their own inner operations did very, very well through COVID. And I'm proud we didn't lose a tenant to COVID.
That's great news.
Which is amazing. A couple we lost to bankruptcy and one was an overall sale. So nothing we could do about those. But and I attribute that to our ownership. Our ownership was with us lockstep. Every day I was on phone calls with them asking for permission to modify a lease or to adjust something or asking for more money for hand sanitizer.
Right. Everybody was asking, hey, where can I find it? Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, we laugh about it now because, when we look back on it and I think about all the things that we accomplished through that time, it's just incredible. And I really believe Kamakana Li'i is stronger today than it was before COVID in 2019. I truly believe that. I think as a community hub, we're stronger. Our tenants are stronger. We as a management team are stronger. We had to, it was stressful. It was hard.
Right.
We were there to support each other. There were days it was rough. I'm not going to lie. It was hard.
For sure. Well, the shared experiences really can bring a team together. And hey, remember back then when we did that? We were there and we got through it. And it's really sort of a motivational, saying that's like, hey, we can do hard things.
Absolutely.
And we don't just lay down and give up. And now that it's coming back, these community events that seem so exciting, and that's where you're really. It sounds like that's the main vision that you have, is just continuing to bring the community in to experience what you have there.
Absolutely. I think, the community is at the heart of everything we do at Kamakana Li'i. And so when we are looking at the events that we're going to do or the different things that we're bringing into the center, that's the question we always ask. Is this something our community would appreciate and want? Is this something that helps drive traffic and sales to our tenants?
Well, how do you get that feedback? Where do you get that from? I know you got marketing team out there and your web pages and things like that. Are people just soliciting that stuff, or do you have to go out and ask them?
There is we have some of the best social media metrics that I have ever had the privilege of overseeing. Our email blast program. So if you're one of our Royal Insiders, if you're not, you should join. Kamakana Li'i and the Royal Insider. You can just pop in your email address, and it's a loyalty program. Okay. So when you're part of this loyalty program, you get the first every bit of news that's brand new and up and coming. Okay. You're going to know first. And then we have special programs where we reward those that are most loyal to us. And so through that program, we send out an email, and an typical open rate is 20-30%. On average, we're seeing 60 to 80% open rate. And then they go even further and actually dig into that tenant website to look further into what we're talking about in that email blast. It's incredible. And I say all that just to say that our community's response to our social media, our email, our Instagram post is amazing. It is amazing. And through that, they communicate with us. They tell us. We can look at the event that we put on and see the comments or the likes or the different things. And that helps us determine all of that. The other thing is we have lots of marketing metrics that we use that helps us understand the demographic and how that demographic changes year over year, because it does. And in some cases it changes drastically. So we use all of that to, once we get that annual data set, we retool our future marketing programs to meet that demographic need. So through that marketing program, there's an element called affinity. So this is what the community loves and what they aspire to own or to have. So we look at that and we go, oh gosh, in some cases we have it already. The customer just doesn't seem to know it. And so that gives Kelly, my marketing director, an opportunity to go, okay, we need to push this brand because Macy's carries it. So let's get that information out there and help the customer know we have what they want.
Right.
And then it also gives my leasing team a great strategy on how they're going to move forward with who they're going to bring in, because clearly our customer wants that particular product or brand.
Well, that's important to note, because listen, there's now a trail of sort of mall anchor stores that have sort of like, Sears and some of these other ones and that have sort of calculated in a lot of those areas and didn't get that feedback. And I guess we can see sort of the, what's happened there. We won't belabor, some of the challenges that malls have faced, strip malls too. You see that, again, maybe it's infrastructure or whatever. Again, and I don't want to, I know what you've got going on. And it sounds wonderful, but it is a challenging sort of retail market out there that, to try and adapt these different places so that they can stay current that way and have those resources, where the strip mall maybe just has a couple of things and then they go there for that one thing, but they don't see everybody else. But what you've got going in the center has just sort of a something for everybody. And then there's maybe a little bit something, for maybe another thing for somebody. Yeah,
sure. And I think, to speak to that, JLL has done a lot of research on, the dying mall, which is actually a falsehood. It's actually not true. Especially coming out of COVID, there were a lot of research studies where everyone thought that because there was so much online shopping and all these retailers had gotten so good at online shopping that customers were going to really enjoy that experience and not want to come back to brick and mortar. And we've seen exactly the opposite.
Right.
The customer really wants that human connection, that human touch. And so we, but then at the same time, they want both. Right. And so, it's not that the tenants that invested in all these online programs are at a loss. They're not, because our customer now is well educated. They know how to get what they want both ways. And sometimes they want one way, sometimes they want the other way. And I think what shopping centers have to realize, and what JLL continues to try to help our owners understand and our clients understand, is that you have to grow. You have to change as a shopping center. You have to be willing to be nimble, to be flexible, and to figure out how you're going to redevelop that big box and make it something that's relevant to your community.
Right.
And not just something that, there's this new fancy brand that's out there, let's just bring them in, if that's not what's going to resonate with your community.
Right.
Understanding your community is key, and then being willing to be flexible to their needs, I think is critical.
Yeah, some of these centers, they're almost like you say, a city. Different places now have, Amazon drop places where they can bring their stuff that they want to send back. It's tough to work through the US mail. So they, then they come back to the center, then, I'll just go pick up another one. I'll just drop this one off and then go pick up what I need,
Exactly. And again, it goes back to that creativity, being flexible, and listening to what your community, your shoppers want and need. So big picture, where do you want to be next 5 years? What's the future growth pattern here? You're all building all this stuff, 2016, 2018. Now what? Yeah. I think we are in a really interesting time right now. I think coming out of COVID and where we are with inflation and gas prices, I mean, you can't not talk about those things, right? I'm going to fall over right here. So, I think right now, I go back to kind of some of the initial conversations we had as a team with COVID, and taking stock and really taking a minute and let's enjoy where we are right now. Because right now I feel, as I walk the center, people are happy. People are enjoying life right now. They're just trying to get connected and reconnected with family and friends. And I really believe right now that's where we need to be. And as we come out of that phase, I think we'll better understand what our community needs and where that growth pattern and what that development looks like for the future of Kamakana Ali'i. I know that our ownership is invested in this property. They aren't going anywhere, and they believe in what we are doing here, and they believe in this community, and as such, they'll continue to reinvest in it. Right. I don't have any concern about that, and it just comes down to what does that reinvestment look like, and when is it right? At what time is that, reinvestment on a large scale? Obviously they're investing in the property every day, right? But on a larger scale, that reinvestment into the center, what does that look like? When is the right time? And what does the community want?
Right. And you have to move at the pace of the community and what they're able to, like you said, you just can't build it and expect sort of certain things. You have to sort of use those metrics and march forward. And I like that idea of being in the present, being in the now, and seeing the things that are good, and then taking that sort of energy that you have from the day to day and moving it forward. And especially those folks that are looking to maybe catch some of that energy from Kamakana Ali'i, they can come look on your website, and they can come talk to all the different folks I think that you have available there. As soon as you go to your website, I'm sure you can get information about becoming a tenant, and there's all those jobs and all those different places if you want to find out more.
Absolutely. I think our website is very user-friendly. And there's, I would say there's a landing page for almost any question you might have. And it's kamakanaalii.com, and absolutely visit us often.
Awesome. And then of course, all your social media stuff, so you can find out all the news and happenings, and then get in that, that preferred members, that club there, and get all the newest news. So awesome. I wish we had more time. It's always fun to come into the boss's office, but before we go, we always find out a little bit more about the boss. We got to know a little bit more. And so just a couple of questions we ask Pauhana, we call it, just a couple of rapid fire things just to see about things. So we won't surprise you too bad here. So anyway, listen, white rice, brown rice.
Brown rice.
You got to know, in Hawaii, you got to know. Okay, sushi or poke?
Oh, sashimi.
Sashimi, just straight.
Yeah.
Straight raw. Okay. Yeah, it's good with do you like the wasabi? Are you a big wasabi
I do.
fan?
No, I love wasabi.
Yeah, if you're not crying, you're not doing it right.
Right. Sweating a little.
That's right, a little bit. So listen, Hawaii too, beautiful place. I mean, gosh, I think all the people who, your big company, they all wish that they were there as a general manager, I think, and they're kind of jealous, but I'm sure they love to come and visit, and all the corporate people like, hey, when are we going to see Kamakana Ali'i? They're doing such these great things. But so what's your getaway when you in Hawaii? You have a place where you go. Again, we don't want your secret spot or whatever, but water or
I have to be honest, it's my backyard. It's my backyard with my husband and my 2 boys and my 2 dogs, and barbecue grill going, and honestly, that's my
everything is safe and peaceful in the world. Yep. I love that. So your steak or chicken? Steak, definitely big. Big okay. Now listen, music genre. I haven't asked this one before. What's everybody's got a playlist nowadays. You got a sort of a lean.
It's funny. The first thought that came to mind was truck tunes and the Lion Guard. It's non-stop in my house with my 2 boys.
Well, hey, when I grew up, it was all the Disney shows and everything like that. I've got all the songs.
Moana, Encanto.
That's right. That's right. Well, we don't talk about Bruno, right?
Exactly.
I'm hearing that like every day. I've got 2 daughters at home still too. Yeah.
But when the kids go to sleep and it's a little more quiet at our house, I would definitely say Michael Bublé, Bruno Mars.
Sure. It's just some good crooners.
Willie K.
Awesome. Well, listen, that's all. It's been such a pleasure talking with you. I think everybody's lucky out there to have you as a general manager.
Thank you.
And we look forward to many things. And I'm excited to go out there and see some of the new food. I think I've got some new date options for my wife and I. So
absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, David, for the time. I really appreciate it. And I had a wonderful time today.
Awesome. So did I. Yeah. Hey, until next time. Aloha.
Absolutely. Aloha.
Bye-bye.
Make sure to subscribe to Hawaii Boss and follow us on social media at Hawaii Boss Podcast at the links in the description. We'll see you soon in the boss's office.